name's Kieran, and welcome to
the Sparkly Medics podcast.
In this podcast, we hope to bust some medical myths,
talk about all the hot gossip,
and hopefully have some fun on the way.
We just want to make a quick disclaimer that everything we talk about in this podcast is our medical opinion and not medical advice. If you have any queries or concerns, please consult your local GP.
And if you enjoy this podcast, please save, like, and subscribe.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
It's been such a long time.
It's been, so our last episode we launched in April, I think.
Yeah, we did. And how many months has it been since then? Like at least 5, 6?
We're in October now.
Oh God.
May, June, July, August, September, October. 6 months. Oh my God.
We've got commitment issues.
Not true. Not true at all. For our listeners out there, hello. We have missed you. Kieran and I have been kind of a bit all over the place, haven't we?
Yeah, I think much like everyone else, our life has also been affected by the big C word, and we've kind of had to take a break from the podcast so that we can prioritise other things. But hopefully that won't happen again and we're back for good.
And there was a lot of debate to whether we were going to continue. Obviously, we will release 2 kind of like prequel episodes, and we were just trying to work out whether this was a thing that we wanted to continue. And now we've got a season, so that's insane.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. We've got some exciting things that we're going to definitely talk about. It's nice because I don't know if you guys know, but me and Eloise are now at opposite ends of the country. We're no longer together, joint at the hip. So, you know, this is going to be a way we can communicate and also talk about topics that we used to on a daily basis, but now on the podcast.
So, for example, today's podcast is being brought to you live. It's not, it's been pre-recorded, but actually we are 350 miles away from each other. So lots of things have had to change, including the fact that we're now not side by side.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad about that, but we'll make it work.
It's fine. Actually, I'm very impressed at how we've adapted. Like everyone in the country, everything's moved online. Everything has to be done using different recording platforms, etc. But we've managed it, and I think hopefully it all works.
Yeah, exactly. So coming back to our previous 2 episodes that we did get quite a lot of good feedback from you guys, and I think that was definitely one of the reasons why we decided to continue doing it. Me and Eloise have always said, like, even if we can touch one person with our messages and sort of inspire someone, make someone's day good, then, you know, that's all we want. And it was definitely a factor that made us want to sort of continue with the podcast, because a lot of your feedback has been quite positive, and a lot of people are quite interested to know, like, 6 months later, what we've been up to. So that's what we're going to try and tell you over the next few episodes.
Yeah, so it's still a medical myth-busting podcast. And the idea is that obviously so many people are now more isolated than what they probably were before the C word. Oh, I just don't even want to say it. And if you are one of those people that have just come to uni, you're in a new room, you're all online lectures, for example, and you feel a bit lonely, hopefully this podcast can be something that you can learn a bit of new information from, but also feel like you're not alone, because I like our chats and I think that other people do too.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess this is kind of a time to plug our social medias as well. So, you know, obviously listening to the podcast, but you can also engage with us as well on our social medias. So obviously you can get in touch with us on Instagram at the Sparkly Medics Pod, and also on Twitter as well. And if you want to drop us an email as well, it's thesparklymedicspod@gmail.com.
We are going to be doing question rounds at the end, just a 5-minute question section for you guys to send in anything that you want to ask us. We've already had a few for this episode, which is amazing. We won't be giving advice in the DMs, so just to make that clear, if anyone has been listening to Florence Given, she's fantastic, a new author who wrote Women Don't Owe You Pretty. She talks about boundary setting, and Kieran and I just discussed that we can't be giving medical advice in the DMs of our Instagram. when we work in hospitals all the time, it's too much. So you probably won't get advice in those DMs, but certainly if you have questions, they will be answered. Like, we'll select a few and answer them at the end of every episode.
Yeah, and also any ideas for future episodes and things, let us know. We'll definitely consider them and hopefully put out an episode that is related to that.
Yeah, so today was just really to just talk about what's been going on over the last 6 months, where we are now, and new starts really. So for everyone who started at university for the very first time, what is that like, advice we would give, etc. So shall we crack on?
Yeah. So our last episode we did sort of at the beginning of when lockdown started, and since then, obviously, we've moved away really to other sides of the country. So we were intercalating last year, so we did a year away from our medical schools, and now we're back at med school. And it's been hard, but also I'm glad to be back in a way as well. I don't know if you feel the same way, Eloise.
Yeah, like you miss it, which is weird.
Yeah.
I'd never thought I would say I'd miss medicine, but certainly like the first day back on the wards, I was like, oh, I miss this. So that's slightly reassuring that we actually know that we want to be a doctor and it's the right place for us.
Yeah, I guess we should probably start off by saying how our intercalation degree kind of ended.
Oh, well, it kind of just car crashed at the end, didn't it? Like, oh.
Yeah, I think we kind of had a similar experience to every single other person who was completing uni last year. Dissertations were sort of up in the air, a bit of a mess.
Oh, my life.
And
Let's not repeat it. It was just, I think a lot of the problems that we had was everything get, like everyone else, get pushed back because of COVID. Everything was being like, we're not sure, we'll just do it in a few weeks, we're not sure, we'll let you know. And it was all a bit of unshaky ground, and we were kind of just relying on each other like, do you have a clue what's going on? Because I certainly don't.
yeah, that's so true. And then obviously we had exams being changed last minute, so they were supposed to be face to face, and then they managed to be online. And we have never done anything in that format. And the worst thing is when you have an exam that's in a different format, sort of out of your comfort zone, and you really have to. So you've got extra things to think about there. So we did an ultrasound exam without an ultrasound.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah. So, but luckily we passed with flying colours, so it's good. But yeah,
The stress of it though. So if anybody doesn't know, ultrasound machines are massive. If you've ever had a pregnancy scan or if you've ever had your knee looked at so we did a musculoskeletal ultrasound. So we were looking at knees and arms and legs and stuff. And it's a flippin' huge machine, which Kieran and I spent the majority of March making sure we knew how to use because it was a practical exam.
Yeah, we literally scheduled days where we just go and sort of scan each other's arms and things, making sure we knew all the anatomy.
I know far too much about your knees, like than I should actually ever know. Like I know so much about Kieran's elbow, for example. I could name every part of it, like easy. I can follow your median nerve, no problem, in your arm, Kieran. I know exactly where it is.
And it's all for nothing as well, isn't it?
Oh, so then what happened was, obviously COVID hit. We weren't sure we were going to have that exam. And then they were like, no, we're still having it. And I was like, how? We can't even ultrasound each other. Like, how is that going to happen? And they're like, well, we'll do it online. And we were like, it's a practical exam. And then all of a sudden it was on Microsoft Teams. And you just kind of had to explain what you would do.
Yeah, exactly. And also technology is not on your side for stuff like that. Like I think out of everybody, you definitely had the hardest time with technology this year.
Oh, so my laptop decided the day before lockdown to crash and not to work. And at the time I was like, oh, it's fine. Like it's an old laptop, everyone. I've had it since like school. So I was like, it's fair enough. It's okay. Apart from the fact that then Apple closed, I couldn't get it seen to. They were like, oh, it's going to cost so much money to get it fixed. And panic then ensued when it was all like, oh, by the way, you have to be on Microsoft Teams. I use a Mac. I'm not sure. You don't, do you, Kieran?
No, I don't.
So for Mac users out there, the panic that is involved when you have to use Microsoft platforms that are not really that compatible, And I was just like, that's it, I'm gonna fail, because it just kept cutting out. Like there was no Wi-Fi, there was no, it just didn't want to work. And in the end, it's all corrected now, but I had to have my entire laptop wiped in July. That was scary. Like literally just handing over my Mac and being like, oh, so just wipe the whole thing.
Oh God, yeah, it just is not ideal. Like I don't think you had any problems with your laptop until COVID hit.
Literally the day before I was texting Kieran like, oh yeah, I'm just like doing some bits and bobs, and then my laptop just went down and I was like, oh my God, what's just happened?
And then
So
alongside that, obviously, we used to do teaching. We used to teach some of the first and second years, anatomy and sort of clinical skills. We'd sort of dropped that as well, didn't we?
yeah,
Um,
that went out the window. That nope, that didn't
yeah,
happen.
I've kind of had a few messages from people saying like thank you for the teaching and things.
Oh,
Yeah, it's made me feel like really, really emotional.
that's really nice. Well, they see me, obviously,
Yeah,
and I'm like, hello,
yeah.
back to being a medical student. And because now I'm a senior medical student, oh, gosh, how scary,
Does that
guys.
mean you're old?
Pardon?
Does that mean you're old?
No, they say it like is a fifth year. When you're a fifth year, you're called a senior medical student. That's just what they introduce us as. The doctors introduce us as that as well. I think it means like these guys are nearly a doctor versus haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
And to be fair, don't have a clue either. Just kind of making it up as I go along. But I see the students that we um taught all the time, because they've now moved up a year. They're now in the hospital and things, and they're always like, "Oh my goodness, Eloise, help!" And I'm like, "Ah, hello."
Adding to that and going off on a completely different tangent, but have you noticed how in hospital you get treated differently when you're in fifth year? I'm noticing it and I'm in fourth year.
So yeah, but that's also because all the junior doctors are from my year.
Oh.
So it's very funny because all the junior doctors that I meet on wards, I was in their year. And because of COVID, technically, this is what astounds me. Because of COVID and everything, they didn't do exams. So the last exams they sat were with me
Oh, okay.
back in fourth year. So at my medical school, we do finals in fourth year. It depends on each medical school where you go when you do your final exams. And our fifth year is more like a shadow year. But everyone's laughing because they're telling me what to do, but then also we're very much at the same level, because apart from doing like the PSA and SJT, they never sat an exam other than the one I sat.
Oh, right, right, yeah. So basically, they feel like a bit sort of awkward teaching you.
A little bit, and then
Yeah.
like, I know you know this because we were in the same year, and I'm like, yeah, I know. It's very strange. It's actually great though, because it means that we I don't feel too intimidated by it. It means that I can actually ask questions that potentially I wouldn't have if it was a stranger.
Yeah, for me, I've noticed that I'm obviously a year below Eloise, so I'm in fourth year. And
Young girl.
I know I felt like in third year, towards the end, people you turn up as a medical student to the wards and consultants would be there really, really grumpy. Everyone's done with you. They don't really want to teach you. They just sort of want to sign your book, if or they'll refuse to have you in their clinics and stuff. Whereas in fourth year, I feel like people are like more welcoming. Everyone's sort of happy to see that you're there. They feel like you're more serious about like wanting to learn and things. Um, and I kind of like it. So I'm looking forward to going to fifth year where people will hopefully see me a bit more as a part of the team.
Yeah, it is nice. I think what's been really lovely, and what I have spoken about with my year lead, who is amazing, she was like, we're just desperate for students to be back. We want to teach you. All the clinicians were like, when are the students coming back? Because you do make up a vital part of the team. Like teaching, I get teaching all the time without even really asking for it. Like consultants will just be like, what's this? Tell me about this. Divide this for me. Like, and when I say divide, I don't mean a math question. I mean like condition wise. And you realize how much they enjoy teaching. It's their favorite subject. Of course it is. This is their job. They love medicine. So to actually be able to teach us, to be enjoying like the sessions, is so nice for them versus just not having anyone really that interested and just kind of like cracking on with a job.
Yeah, so like anyone who's in second year or anyone who's going into third year and you feel as though you're sort of in the way on the wards, it does get better. I think that's kind of what we're trying to say.
Oh yeah, I used to stand like a lemon in like year three. Didn't have a clue. Was like, oh, I'm always in the way. Like I don't know what I'm doing. But you will gradually help. Like you'll be able to go and put in a cannula for someone who needs one. You'll be able to go run this test because you know how to do it, and then that saves that doctor a job, and they can focus on something else while you do that, and they
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
yeah, exactly. And also, even if you don't know skills, like as a third year, you know how to speak to patients. If someone looks like they're struggling, just so sort of go and help them. Don't turn up to the wards late. Um, you
Nope.
can do things like get the notes out, have a read of the notes, make yourself look like you're useful rather than just standing there a bit like a lemon, like Eloise said. I mean, we're quite helpful people anyway, and if we felt that some days it's just not going to be your day, and I think you have to remember that. Like if you come back from clinical placements feeling like crap, tomorrow will be better. Like don't just sort of give up on everything. It just happens. Some days people are just really busy on the hospitals, on the wards, and they don't really have time. But you know come home and just sort of read up what you need to, and then just move on and start the next day anew, and hopefully you'll have a better experience.
Yeah, my advice to anyone who's starting in third year or second year, so different medical schools obviously transfer from preclinical knowledge where you're in lectures all the time to being on the ward. Be enthusiastic. Even if you hate the topic, for example, I'm not going to say geriatrics because that's not
Oh,
actually
I love
politically correct.
Jerry's.
You can't call it geriatrics anymore. It's not, you're not meant to. Although the med reg to me was like, I'm a Jerry doctor. And I was like, I'm fairly sure you're not meant to say that. And she was like, oh, screw it. It's fine.
What are you meant to, sorry, what are you meant to call it?
Elderly care.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, yeah. I know that.
You do know that. Like, oh. So anyway, I, for example, I'm not really an old people person. I never have been. I don't have grandparents. Like, it's something that I just don't really relate to. Other people love it. Goddamn love it. But when I went on that ward, it was like it was the best thing ever. And it wasn't me acting. It was just me trying to show enthusiasm for something, because you will get far better reception from like the consultant or the people that are on that ward, because they do love it. That's their job. So even if you don't like it, for example, loads of people hate surgery. Kieran and I love it, so we're a bit different. But loads of people hate surgery, and the amount of people that stand there and roll their eyes and are like, "Oh, I'm tired," and I'm like, "Don't do that. You're just going to piss off so many people because this is their job and they love it. Just go in and be really enthusiastic. You can go home at the end of the day and be like, no, I don't want to do that. And that's absolutely fine. But be as enthusiastic as you would want someone to be about your favourite subject."
Yeah, I agree. I think what would be helpful also is just to ask questions. Obviously, there's a time and a place to ask questions, but if you ask questions when you're in clinic and stuff, it shows that you're keen and eager. Plus, if you're kind of selfish that way, it helps with your exams. So,
Yeah, there's just lots of different tips and tricks that can help you, and your day will be far better if you are actively trying to enjoy it. If you are just standing there like, oh, I want to go home, that comes across, and that does come across because I've seen some third years, and I'm like, oh, you clearly just don't want to be here. And then that's a bit annoying because you're like, if you don't want to be here, why are you doing this as a job?
yeah, exactly. God, we've gone on a tangent for a good 10 minutes.
Because I think this is important, especially for like our new medical students. I mean, this is more like clinical people, but let's move back to actually freshers and first years. And welcome to uni, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I can't. Do you remember your first day at uni?
Yes, yes, I do. I do remember it quite well, actually, even though it was like 6 years ago.
Oh, I feel like there's a story there now.
No, I just remember because the whole thing, I didn't research my university very well in terms of I could only really apply to one. I was very much set on going down south to do psychology. Medicine was like, I'm not going to get in. So I just didn't really think very much about it. So when I did get in and I got everything through, I'd never really been to the campus. I'd never seen the halls. I'd never. Don't do that. If you're a student trying to apply to medical school next year, research where you're going to go to, because I mean, it put me on the back foot a little bit because I just didn't have a clue. Um, and when I arrived, I remember it was really lovely, really pretty, and just being like, okay, this is nice. But also being really nervous and feeling like I didn't belong there, if
Oh,
that
I
makes
didn't
sense.
know that.
Yeah, because I'd been told so many times, like, oh, you're not going to get in, you're not going to get in, you're not going to get in. So when I got in, I was like, maybe I don't deserve to be here. Like, oh God.
Do you know what? I think I've heard at least like 10 people say that to me. And I don't know
No,
why people don't feel like they. I think because it's so hard to get in, and then all of a sudden it's just happened. Loads of people feel like they're not supposed to be there.
it's like imposter syndrome. Like, you do find that CEOs and people, very successful people, do experience this where they're like, oh, I don't deserve this. And I think that's a running theme as well. So for first years who are potentially listening to this thinking, oh, I feel like that, try not to, because you have worked incredibly hard and you do deserve to be there. Because I definitely thought for a good 3 years, I don't deserve to be here. Like, I'm going to fail, something's going to happen down the line, bad's going to happen. And I think because of that, I maybe didn't enjoy it as much, which in hindsight, reflecting back, a little bit of reflection, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't think I had that experience. Because I think for me, I worked so hard that I was like, I deserve to be here. So I was completely the opposite. And so for me, like when people don't turn up to lectures and stuff like that, it really annoys me because I'm just like, come on, you've worked so hard to get here. Why are you taking advantage of situations like that? And I do think I did the opposite, where because I'd worked so hard to get here, I didn't want to sort of end up failing something. My first year was a lot more intense. I made sure I studied loads rather than sort of enjoy myself.
Mm,
And so that's probably my like tip for freshers: go to your lectures obviously, but make sure you do as much social stuff that you're allowed to do, obviously with restrictions and things, as possible. Like, try and make friends. Even if you think that doing an online pub crawl is boring, do it. Just because you'll meet new people, you'll see new faces, and then at least you can say you've done it. You don't really need to worry about sort of going to lectures and sort of retaining every single thing like A levels. You can do that once you've sort of had a bit of made your friends and things like that. You've got enough time in first year to do that. Don't sort of get bogged down into the books straight away like I did. It didn't really help, and instead probably increased my anxiety a lot
yeah.
more. Yeah.
I think a massive thing for you guys out there is that the restrictions are so tight. So we're hoping this podcast is something you can listen to in your room, because the idea of just being only allowed to see 6 people, lectures in your bedroom, it's a lot. And we know it's a lot. I don't think I would have enjoyed that at all. And I used to always say that my bedroom was like my safe place. I would never work in my bedroom, so I never used the desk. I used to just go out to work and then come back in. But you guys don't have that luxury, which is really unfortunate. So I would definitely say the massive thing for you guys, my advice is, in first year, plan your day. Make sure that you stop working at a time and that's it. You're not working anymore after that, because I think it's very easy. And I was explaining this to you, Kieran, that emails can come through at like 9:30 at night or 8 o'clock in the morning. And I automatically just pick up my phone and start to like email people back. And I'm like, what am I doing? It's like 10:30, like at night. What am I doing? No. Set boundaries for yourself to say, I will work from 9 till 5 and then I do an hour till 6 and then I'm done.
Yeah, and I think that's good professional practice as well. Like, I think some doctors listening to this, if there's any out there, will probably say it's really important to make sure that you do set boundaries and have some time, a time of the day that's just for yourself. Like, for instance, for me, it's when I'm eating dinner. Like, I don't like sitting and eating dinner with people. I like eating dinner with myself because that's my time to catch up on the day's news and stuff. That's just
You
my
do that.
ritual. Yeah.
I know she does this. I've sat and watched her a few times do this and just like blank me and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to do that in the library all the time. Like,
All the time.
get my like curly fries, eat that for dinner. Eloise, I'm not talking to you. I need to catch up on whatever I need to catch
Well,
up on.
constantly watching the news. Like, I'd turn around and she's like, I'm watching the headlines. And I was like, oh, okay. All
I
right.
know, it's kind of my thing. I don't know. It's really depressing, a depressing thing to do, but it's just quite easy, especially like nowadays where the news is changing every single day, but also not changing at the same time. So they've been talking about coronavirus for the past 6 months, and the stories are quite similar, but things change rapidly as well. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I do completely get it. I mean, the Prime Minister just made an absolute fool of himself because he didn't even know the restrictions up in the Northeast. And I was like, bearing in mind that's where I'm from, I was like, if he can't get it right, what the bloody hell hope do we have? Like,
And
goodness gracious, like, come on now.
I know. Oh God. Yeah. So that's like my day of my little piece. I don't know what it is, my little ritual. To have your little ritual, let people make fun about it and laugh at it, but you just keep doing what you need to do to keep make yourself sane.
Yeah, and I mean, I go to the gym. That's my thing, and that always has been my thing. And when the gyms closed, I was a bloody mess because I was just like, I have nothing to do. Like, and I lost all my motivation because I was like, well, there's no point because the gyms are closed, and with working and stuff, and not eating very well because obviously rushing from placement to work, I was just like microwaving meals and stuff. Don't recommend doing that, kids. Try and learn to cook if you can. Um, Not that I like it, but still, it's a good recommendation. And
Yeah.
then with gyms open again, I take an hour, and I've made sure it's an hour, and I go and I do my workout and I really get into it. And you feel so much better for exercising. I do genuinely think that this is a huge endorphin thing. If you feel low, absolutely try and go to the gym, which is still open, by the way. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the next few weeks. I am watching it. But go to the gym, go for a run. No one's going to stop you going for a run at all. You are more than entitled to do that. Or even just do a workout in your room. So many people have released home workouts that I did Shreddy Blast. So all the girls out there, boys can do it too, but Shreddy is an app that I use quite regularly. And they did a home workout where it was 4 weeks of home workouts, and it was brilliant. And 100% would recommend. They were only 20 minutes or 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's it in the day. 10 minutes. They kill you. It's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. But that 10 minutes is just for you, just to sweat and just to get it out. And then you can do the rest of your day, for example.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Like in between lectures, me and my housemates that end up doing workouts. So we have like a Zumba workout that we do. It's only 20 minutes long, but it's like enough for us to eat lunch afterwards and then go to do the next lecture online. So even like have little breaks between your lectures, things like, for instance, a stretch that you're doing, it makes you feel so much better, but also you'll be motivated for the next lecture too.
Exactly. And then you should be using apps like what's it called? Headspace at
Hmm.
night, just to relax, just to switch off, because you're constantly on a screen, you're constantly on the internet, etc. So you're not really switching off at all. So try and use apps if you're struggling to sleep, for example, um, or you're stressing because of work. Use those apps. No one's going to judge you. Trust us. We wish we'd done it sooner.
Yeah, I use Tide and Calm. They're two of the apps I use, and I use them on a regular basis. Um, I love being by the seaside, and last year I think I missed the seaside a lot. So that was kind of why I downloaded Tide, because it's got a lot of like beach sounds and stuff that just calm me. And it sounds really stupid, and I used to laugh at the idea of listening to sort of nature sounds to calm yourself down, but it really does help. Yesterday, I sort of went for a walk in the rain, and that sort of calmed me down because I was feeling really anxious. So, you know, number one, acknowledge it's okay to be feeling anxious or feeling panicky or feeling just sort of stressed out. Take 10 minutes of your day or even 20 minutes of your day just to sort of do something that's going to calm yourself down, because I promise you 20 minutes is going to mean a lot when it comes to sort of carrying on with the rest of your day and being sort of calm rather than jittery all day and not getting anything accomplished. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of the massive things that I learned, and my mum actually pointed out to me, is if I set myself about like goals for the day, and say I will just do X, Y, and Z today, and then that's it. I am so much better than if I'm like, oh, I need to do this, but then I might do this later, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do this in a minute. Like, if I'm all over, like scatterbrain almost, I'm worse. And she's like, honestly, break down your work. If you just do one thing today and then say, that's it, I'm not doing anything else, I'm going to have a day off. She was like, have the day off instead of worrying about all the things you could be doing, because then you're just basically not utilizing that day at all to take that time.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why we're saying this is because when you like for most people they've been in school for the whole of their life so far, and so school plans your day out for you, whereas in university you used to do that, but now with online lectures and stuff, and some of them being pre-recorded and things, your day is set out by you. So you literally can set goals at the beginning of the day, and they can be the smallest goal, and that's fine. But just give yourself something to do each day, something to look forward to, as well as obviously accomplishing the
Yeah,
little tasks that you need to do too. And
a
have
nice
routine.
meal.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, a nice meal, something, a glass of wine. Not
Yeah.
every day because, lockdown, that's been a problem. Not for me, but just in general. I think the population has just increased their drinking massively. Um, just treat yourself to something each day and reward yourself for doing it. And massive thing is to-do lists, write it down, stick it up somewhere, have a calendar, have a planner. I had a planner at school. I don't know about you, Kieran, and it was like my best friend. I loved it so much.
Yeah. Yeah,
And it actually
exactly.
taught me so well to like plan my day and have my homework, etc. And at school, I used to whine a bit about my planner. I was like, so but why do we have to have this? And then when I went to uni, the first thing I did was buy a planner.
Yeah. Another thing I would say is obviously you're in your bubbles at uni. Within so if you do live with other people and you're in bubbles, just organize something to do at least once a week. So in our house, we every Friday do a card game, at least one round. Um, and it just sort of is something we look forward to, and we eat takeaway together. That can be something you're doing with other
Oh,
people. Sorry.
oh, that's nice. For me, I'm obviously living in halls again, so not as good as being in a house. I will always say that because it's difficult. But if you are living in halls, and my massive advice with this is just remember you are not on your own. It's so easy to feel like you are, especially if you're in an ensuite room. You are not on your own. And if you ever feel at any point like I'm not coping very well, get in touch with student services. There'll be loads of mental health and student support on campus. Just ring them. They're there. That's their job. That's my job. That's my job. I look after students. Like that, I would never say sit on it and think, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Just ring. Like we don't care. We'd rather you ring and we sort the problem out with you than you sit stewing in your room. And I suppose it's going to be much harder meeting people because you'll only have those 6 or 7 people in your hall that your kitchen is associated to. I'm not exactly sure how many people are to every kitchen. I'm just kind of going off what my university said. And if you think, oh, well, I don't get on with them, don't panic. You're not going to get on with every single person that you meet at uni. I mean, it took me bloody 4 years to meet Kieran. Oh,
Yeah.
so that's a huge thing. You're not necessarily going to get on with the people you meet that first day or in your kitchen or in your hall. Hopefully you will. That would be amazing if you do. But if you don't panic. It's not you. It's not them either. You just won't, you'll just clash with people and that's okay. You will meet other people. Join Facebook groups, join social media platforms for, I don't know, rugby, netball, whatever you fancy. Societies will all be online and they will be running socials online. Also, a massive thing for you guys in halls / at uni, don't break the law. We've already had a few people be like having parties, etc. And I know it's really hard to say, and you're all going to be like, oh, but it's not fair. We want to meet up and drink and get together. We get that, but it's so serious, the repercussions if you do meet up and you do have a party because it actually is illegal. Like it's against the law now. So, as much as you're tempted, try not to do it.
Yeah.
Because we have had an instance already at my uni where people have been meeting up and it's like, no, no, and they are throwing the book at them because it's literally illegal. Like, you can't do it.
I kind of want to talk about something controversial,
Oh,
and kind
God,
of
okay.
I'm keen to know your opinion. So it's kind of, I don't know if you've been in the same position where obviously people have been posting on social media that they've been meeting up, and it's clearly a group of like 25 in a house sometimes on my social media. And I was just wondering what your opinion was on that. Like, what do you do about that? Because I always wondered. Obviously, you need to call, as a medical student, it's important to sort of make sure that people are aware, obviously, of the rules. But then there is that traditional bit British thing where you just let bygones be bygones. So I'm kind of like really struggling with that line there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. We're calling it an active bystander. So the idea is that if you see something that's wrong, you should be able to challenge it.
Yeah,
What I've struggled with is that I don't know if that group of people, those 6 people, are in a household together. How do I know that? Do I go and ask? Is that really rude? Is that what do I do?
yeah,
So I agree. It's really difficult, but my whole point is that if they're going to do that and be selfish enough to do that, then we've got no hope. I hope that a lot of people out there who are like, oh, I don't care and this and that, you don't see the patients we see, you don't see people with it. I have spoken to loads of doctors who have been literally scarred, like PTSD from what happened. And they're like, it was horrific. It was horrible. One of my med regs was like, people were dying every half hour. And her bleep was going off so much that she was like, I was running between people because you obviously have to start life support, you have to start trying to do CPR, and she's like, and I just couldn't physically keep up with the bleep because it just kept going. And she was just like, we were losing people every half hour. Can you imagine a 12-hour shift where that happens?
yeah, yeah. I know. I just feel annoyed because I think a lot of people feel as though if they did, who do they? Number one, who do they tell?
Yeah, that's true.
Number two, obviously, the issue with telling and then it coming back on you, which I know in your heart, if you've done something wrong, if you've done something right, then that's like you should be content with that. And then number three, obviously, that coming back on you and the repercussions of that, but also if nothing gets done and then you basically put yourself out there by sort of reporting that or whatever. It is a really difficult situation, and I don't think enough people talk about it.
I completely agree because my job is actually to be a bystander and to actually challenge people. And I got abuse the other day. Like somebody swore at me and he was like, "Oh, fuck off," and I was like, "No, this is my job." And I was like, why do you feel it's okay for me not to challenge you? I mean, this is a huge thing in medicine. You should always be able to challenge your seniors, your friends, if you feel uncomfortable. They
Yeah,
say it all the time. We do it. We run it through an A&E, and the consultant will say, "Is everyone happy?" If you don't feel happy and you feel something's wrong, we stop and you say it. Even me as a student, if I'm not happy and I think something's not going right and I say something, everybody reevaluates because the whole point in medicine, and I think it came from piloting, it was a huge thing, is that you should always be able to challenge anyone if you don't feel comfortable. And in the situation where there might be a group of 25 people, I know I don't feel comfortable walking over to them. 25 people is a lot of people. But I'm not going to say that I wouldn't then get in touch with the person who ran that party or say it was a friend. For example, say if Kieran, I know you wouldn't do this, had a party, I saw it on social media, I would text her and be like, hey, what's going on? Why is there so many people? And if you were like, oh, no, it's not that big a deal, I'd be like, it is. And it's actually really serious. Give them the chance and the opportunity to rectify the mistake and be like, oh, yeah, sorry. We'll move along, we'll disperse it, whatever. And then if they don't, if, for example, Kieran was rude back to me, I'd be like, I'm really sorry, but I have to report this. That's normally enough to get people to move along, like to be like, I am going to report this. And unfortunately, what we've been told at uni, being the job that I'm in, is it's not just security that'll be told. You can call the police, and that's really scary. I'm not entirely sure if I would do that, but I would definitely use that and be like, I will call the police if you don't like break it up.
yeah,
Because I mean, it's not you just being a snitch. It's not that. It's putting so many people at risk. And yeah, you might be 21 and yeah, you might be fine. And, it's not going to affect you, but it will. And this disease is not picking and choosing who it affects, it can affect anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
And
agree.
the last thing we want is you to be on a ventilator. Like, can you imagine if Kieran did something as silly as that, which I know you wouldn't? That's my best friend. Like, what if she was on a like? What if you were on a ventilator? It
Yeah,
would
no, I
break me.
agree. I agree. I think for me, it was always, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, just going on social media and seeing this, and you feel as though you're like, it's happening so much where I've seen like one group, then another group, then another group, then another group. It's just like, is anyone else saying this to them? Or is it just me? Is it just me who's following the rules and is trying to be the police on social media, apparently? Um, no one else seems to care. And these are pretty intelligent people, you know, they've got into med school. So,
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Some
yeah.
people are in med school, I'm like, blummin' heck.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to see what your opinion was. And I think it's similar to mine, really. Like, you kind of have to weigh it up in your head, but
I mean,
right
don't
is
go
right.
bulldozing in.
Yeah,
Blummin' heck. Some people are a bit of like champions of the law and they're like, this is illegal. Like, okay, calm down, sit
yeah,
down. Whew. You're not in charge here, but certainly just talk to people and just be like, why did you think that was a good idea?
yeah.
A good idea.
I
Like,
think right, what's right is right at the end of the day, though. And like, you do need to sort of, but you can go about it the right way and sort of say to that person, did you know these are the rules? Because at the moment it's so confusing anyway.
I know. Just reiterate, this is actually law.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I just think for me sometimes it's the audacity of putting it on social media, even though it's sort of a thing that you're not supposed to be doing. It's kind of like a middle finger to all those people in the NHS who worked hard. Like, I worked hard during the pandemic, you did.
Oh
Um,
my god, I know.
and then when you see things like that on social media, it is like sticking your finger up at the NHS workers, you know, like, oh, we're going to continue having parties because we can, and my dad can probably pay the money towards to the
The fine.
if we get fined, yeah, so it's fine. So it's really something that's been on my mind at the moment, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Also, just to point out, to wrap that all up, if you're posting on social media, you bloody idiot, it doesn't disappear. Like, it doesn't just poof, it's gone once you delete it. No, that can be used against you. They can find it. They can find deleted posts. They can look back. So even if you posted that and say that went viral, I mean, did you see on the news about York?
No, I
Everyone
didn't.
was tipped out into the street and all the
Oh
students were in the
yes, yeah.
street. It's all over the news. Do you want to be that person that's standing there in the shorts that I can recognise in 2 minutes? That girl she's got shorts on and a leather jacket. Well, she was easily recognisable, wasn't she? And I'm like, you are not exempt by putting it on social media and thinking that you're in private accounts and stuff. These types of things can be traced, and that's why medical school are so hot on do not post like illicit photos. Do not post stupid things like you being drunk in a street, because employers see that and they can track through in Google, and that's there forever.
Yeah, and in the day of in the age of the camera at the moment, even if you're not putting it on social media, someone would have taken pictures at some party and it will come back onto you.
Snapchat filed. Anything that's posted on Snapchat is put in a file and stored on a database.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
People out there, all your little photos that you think no one can see, they've got a whole storage of them. There's factories of just desktop files, and they're all there, and nothing is ever erased from the internet. That is a huge thing. So be careful before you're posting. And that doesn't also mean to then just not post and actually just carry it out illegally anyway. But I'm just saying, watch what you're posting.
Lovely.
So, shall we move on to our question time? Because we've actually been chatting for a little bit, and we do have our questions to finish up with.
Yeah.
So I'll just get them up. Hang on, everyone. Oh, okay. This one's for you, Kieran. Do you prefer a campus or a city university?
Okay, so I went to a campus. I've stayed on a campus, but then I've also been to a city uni. I think if I was in first year, I'd like to be on a campus because I feel like it has more of a homely feel. Like, your lectures are sort of there. You can roll out of bed and just like end up turn up to your lectures. You don't have to deal with sort of public transport and stuff. And you do have like a more of a community feel where, you know, there's things like, there used to be things like parties and events and freshers events and stuff on campus. So that's what I really liked. I think in a city uni, it's more scattered about, and I'm less likely to travel 20 minutes across the city to sort of go to something like that.
Mm.
But I think after first year, I definitely prefer city uni. Because I think once you've done everything on campus, you kind of want to experience the city more and go out more and stuff like that. So then being in a city, you're definitely guaranteed to have obviously massive shopping centres, sort of nicer restaurants, thing enough for you to stay there for like 5 years, enough to keep you sort of um, not bored of the city. So I definitely be like campus for if you've got a campus uni in a city, that'd be the best thing, I think. Because
Yeah, a
then
campus in a city.
first year you stay on the campus and then you move out into the city. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's actually, yeah, I would kind of agree.
Whereas
Best of both.
yours is a campus one, isn't it?
It is, no, it is. It is a campus university, and I really didn't think I'd like it being a city girl. Like, I'm from a city. I love the city. It's my favorite thing. So I really struggled because I was like, oh, it's gonna be a bit of a nightmare because I'll feel really isolated, and I love going into town for cocktails and shopping, and obviously can't do that now, but theoretically. Um, but actually, campus is great. Really enjoy it. It's like a community. I have made some great friends, and it doesn't stop you making friends from people off campus. For example, Kieran, I met you, and you commuted all the time, so it's not going to stop you. And yeah, it's more of an environment that you feel comfortable in. I certainly would agree that it would be nice to live much closer to a city and be in a city. So, like exactly what Kieran said, best of both worlds. But it just try and work out your personality and what you would like. If you think the rush and rumble of a city is too much, then campus. If you feel like a campus would be quiet, and it is quiet, it is more quiet than a city 100%, but you want more of a feel that you're closer to your people, like friends within that area, then that's for you. That's what I would probably say.
Okay, lovely. So the next question that I've got here is,
Ooh.
how have you both coped without without being close to each other this year?
Oh.
You want
Yeah, it's hard.
to go?
Please agree. If you don't agree, that's really
No,
embarrassing.
I definitely do. I think so. We've been apart for like 6 months now. We've known each other for a year, and so this is a weird friendship to anyone who's like not in the friendship.
I think a lot of people are like, it's so hard to explain. So many people are like, how did you just click with somebody? And I'm like, I don't know. It just happened. And then I don't know. We were joined at the hip literally every day. There was us two just next to each other, sat next to each other all the time, constantly talking, constantly had something to talk about. And to be on my own now in a different year with some friends from our intercalation, because they've obviously intercalated and moved into my year as well, they're like, oh, do you miss Kieran? And I'm like, yes, constantly. And then they're almost a bit surprised. Sometimes they're a bit surprised that they're like, are you and Kieran still talking? And I'm like, of course we are. Like,
Yeah, we
are you
talk
mad?
quite a lot still, don't we?
Well, we try to. I think it's really hard. And this is another thing for people who may be struggling with friendships that are really long distance. Like, it's difficult, but there's never been a point where I've thought I can't just text you, or, you know, if you didn't reply, I would not be offended. Like, we're busy, there's a lot going on
Yeah, and
at the
sometimes it's
minute.
kind of nice to sort of not talk for a while and then all of a sudden talk. So you've got so much to talk about then.
Exactly. Like today, we were just chatting before this podcast. We were just making sure we were both all right. Like, we've got lots to say. And because we have so many things that we're still tied to, like Kieran and I work really well together, thankfully. um, we have so many projects on that we still keep in contact regarding them. But also, all we want to know is how each other are. And we have a holiday still planned that needs to happen. And it's just making sure that it's distant, and also to remember to everyone, we didn't know each other for the first 3 years of medical school, 4 years in my case. So to know that there's somebody out there who's exactly like me and we get on so well, it's like reassuring.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I think I've definitely come back to med school, no, like before I think my self-esteem was really low because I wasn't someone who was friends with everybody. I sort of kept myself to myself, and then when I met someone like Eloise who's sort of on the same level as me, I think I've come to appreciate myself a bit more, that you know what, you guys don't want to be friends with me, but I've got like a great friend in Eloise. I can always go to her whenever I need like support. And it sort of made me think, it's made me focus on medicine a bit more, as I'm not trying to make please people anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Well, I think I've got more faith in people now. I had no faith in anyone when I met Kieran. I was fully like anti everybody, just like everyone's a loser, but not really a loser, just more of a dick, really, and just are all out for themselves and kind of like backstabbing. And in my head, that's how I thought a lot of people were, just because of the friends that I'd made during med school. And you guys might find this, that there are a few people out there that will be out for themselves, and that will come out during your time together. And so I just kind of thought everyone was like that. And then when I met Kieran, I was like, oh, someone isn't. And that was such a shock to my system that now that I've gone into 5th year, I'm a little bit more of a believer that people aren't like that. And I found that actually it's not students, it's doctors I've gotten friendly with.
Yeah, I agree too. I feel like they've been through that same situation where at med school everyone's just me trying to like get to the top, whereas when with doctors they sort of are a bit more settled and content and not against you. So it's got a lot easier to make friends with doctors.
Yeah, and they're about my age now, like young doctors, when there's not much of an age difference. And there's not much of a difference in jobs either. Like before, I'm in year 3, I must have felt like being a CT was like miles away from me, and I could never talk to them like I do now. But I do now because they're exactly like I am, just a bit further along in their training, and there's not really any difference other than they've got more experience, and that's nice. But I don't know if we have time. Do we have time for one more? I think
Yeah,
we
I
might
think
have
we
time
have
for one
one.
more.
I think we do. Yeah.
I have one here, but do you have one?
No.
Okay, I have one. Bear with me. Bear with me. I think we've covered it. It was. Hang on. Ooh. Any advice? I'm a fresher this year and will be bubbling. Just wanted to know if you have any tips. I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah, I guess we could just summarize. Basically, try and sort of make friends with people within your bubble. Do try and do fun things, but also remember that it's important to have your own space, and it's okay to say to people, "Look, I just need to have tonight off, but I'll join you tomorrow," or something like that. It's okay to sort of have your own space, but then also make sure you are having a good time too.
So set yourself some boundaries, give yourself goals for the day, and take time to do something for you each day, whether it's exercise or read a book or paint. I don't know. Any help? I can't think. Anything else that you want to do for you. And just try and use a lot of this time, because a lot of the online learning, etc., you will be doing, but that does free up a lot of time in your day as well. Learn to cook, learn to do something like a new skill. You might as well
Yeah, learn to do it
invest
with
in
your
yourself.
flatmates as well that you're bubbling with. So I'm learning how to do the splits at the moment.
Oh
Um,
my god, are you actually?
yeah, me and Anna are doing it together.
Just for people who don't know, Kieran's not exactly flexible.
No.
Like, not at all. I've seen her try. Like, oh, that's really impressive. Well done,
So
you.
me and my flatmate are learning how to do the splits together. So yeah, maybe try and do something together. If you guys are sitting down one night in your bubble and you think, oh god, I really wished I learned how to do this, and someone else says it, straight away be like, okay, we're doing it together. This is our goal. By the end of the month, we're going to learn how to do the splits. There you
Oh my god, that's insane. What
go.
type of splits? Like forwards or like box splits?
Forwards.
Oh, right leg, left leg.
I'm going to do left. I think Anna's doing right.
Oh, of course, you're left-handed. That makes sense. Stupid me. That was ridiculous. Oh my god, that's so good. I really like that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
We're going to do a flat meal. So we're allowed, obviously, to bubble with our flat. So my friend, she's like, oh, I'll cook. And I was like, great, because I can't. But we're definitely doing like Christmas dinner together. We've already organised that. So yeah, get Christmas dinner. Do something nice. Do something for Halloween.
Yeah.
Dress up.
Yeah, definitely.
Just try and be creative as much as you can. And if you do need help, remember that there's always somebody to contact and get in touch with.
Another thing as well, especially if you're on a campus uni, get a football and just everybody can kick a ball. You don't need to be really good at it, because that's what we've started doing as well. We managed to get access to this private garden.
Ooh, fancy.
I know, and so we've just sort of managed to get a ball, and we just go around and kick a ball around if we feel like it too. So that's another thing. Just sort of be the one who gets a ball, and then just be like, anyone fancy just a kick around? Doesn't need to be really much running, just kicking a ball. I'm sure people will say yeah.
Yeah, just remember that less than 6 and less than 2 households.
Yeah.
At least I know the rules. The Prime Minister might not, but hey, I can spout them like nobody. So, yeah, and listen to a podcast. That's probably my final thing. Go on, try something new. Listen to some new podcasts. We'll be coming to you again with a new episode soon. It should be every couple of weeks. There'll be a new episode available for you. I'm not entirely sure which one's next, but we will let you know on social media. But give us a follow, as Kieran already said, and send in your questions for question time.
Lovely. Okay, I've really enjoyed doing this podcast today. I'm looking forward to being back and doing more. I'm sure you are, Eloise, as well. So thanks for listening. Bye.
We'll see you soon.